political news cycle if we're talking about Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. I promise you. If this upcoming midterm election is all about Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and the border and immigration policy, Republicans win in a clean sweep. Red wave, my friends. And so every time Hillary Clinton claws her way out of her cavern and waddles her way over to a chair and open her pie hole, we're going to share it with you. So here's the latest. By the way, in case you missed it, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden hate each other. Oh, yeah. A lot of these Democrats all hate each other. And we'll get to that story in just a sec. But first, millions of Americans, including me, have spent their entire working lives paying into Social Security. It's our money. And with the funding gap projected less than a decade away, that money is at risk. Now, you don't have to agree with AARP on everything. I don't. But on Social Security, they're fighting for every American who paid in. And that's worth standing up for. So pledge to protect Social Security at aarp.org/weearnedit. All right, now back to the video. You'll remember that at the end of the Obama presidency, when Joe Biden was the vice president, Hillary Clinton jumped on board face first and declared that she was running for president, which was sort of snarky. I mean, imagine if Marco Rubio, without any consultation or any respect for J.D. Vance, just said, screw it. I'm running for president. Yeehaw, Leroy Jenkins. That would be seen as a direct insult and a slight to the sitting vice president, Joe Biden. That's what she did. And ultimately, Joe Biden, under pressure from Barack Obama, decided not to run. And how'd that work out for everybody? Joe Biden undermined Hillary Clinton. Jill hates her too. They've been sniping behind the scenes. And so now Hillary's decided that she wants to get a word in about Joe's efforts to run for re-election back in 24. Here's what she had to say.
He made a terrible mistake. He made a terrible mistake for himself, his legacy, and for the country. He had said that he would not run again. And, you know, counterfactual narratives are always a bit tricky. But I believe if he had kept to that plan and said in, say, the late summer of 23 that he wasn't going to run, that he was going to pass, you know, the torch to the next generation.
Hold on a sec. I want to jump in here because I know you're going to be shocked at this. Hillary Clinton's lying to you. Joe Biden never said definitively that he was only going to run for one term, certainly not publicly. He did describe himself as a transitionary figure, but you can be a transitionary figure in American politics and still serve out 2 terms. I can't believe I'm defending Joe Biden, but, you know, coming from Nurse Ratchet over here, I guess he does need some defense. He didn't say that. And when she says, you know, he should have stuck with the plan, whose plan? I mean, maybe she's revealing some behind the scenes stuff that was going on. Maybe there were conversations before everybody coalesced behind Biden back in 2020 for the nomination. Maybe Joe said, listen, I'm only going to run 1 term. That's the plan. And then I'll pass the torch. Maybe, but none of that was public. Go ahead and search it. He never, ever said that publicly. So now here she is saying that he lied. He went back on his word. He betrayed the plan that was never really a public plan as far as we know. And then she says this, because yes, this is her going after the Bidens, but that's not all she's going after.
We would have had a real contest. And very sadly, I believe whoever emerged from that contest, whether it was the vice president or a governor or a senator or anybody else, would have beaten Donald Trump.
So now she's going after Kamala too. See, if he would have bowed out ahead of time and not run, then we would have had a real contest. So Kamala's like, hey, we had a story we were all sticking to, that we had a real contest, and I won that contest, and I got the, remember, that's what they tried to tell you. Now here she is saying, well, that wasn't a real contest. By the way, you know who would have run in that real contest in the primary? RFK Jr. Oh, it would have been a lot different, I promise you. Okay, so she says not only attacking Joe Biden, making a huge mistake for running in the first place, but now she's attacking Kamala Harris too. This is gorgeous. This is beautiful. Keep talking.
So I think it was a terrible miscalculation on the part of President Biden. But once he didn't move and did not admit that he had said he was going to step aside and then decided not to, and held on for as long as he did. We were in a terrible.
Yeah, she goes on to say they were in a terrible position. Let's talk about what terrible position they were in. Of course, we need to remember exactly what they were saying at the time. And thankfully, well, the internet never forgets.
He made a terrible mistake for himself, his legacy, and for the country. He had said that he would not run again. I believe if he had kept to that plan and said in, say, the late summer of 23 that he wasn't going to run, we would have had a real contest. I believe whoever emerged from that would have beaten Donald Trump.
Do you think President Biden should run again in 2024?
I think that's totally his decision. Absolutely. I think he's done a really terrific job. And so, yes, I want him to run if that's what he wants to do. And of course, I'll support him.
Yeah, at least she looks good, though, doesn't she? She looks fabulous. That's a great outfit, too. I had a rug like that when I was a kid in my living room, I think. Well, there you go. That was March of 23, exactly when she claims Joe Biden should have announced that he wasn't going to be running. It's weird. It's almost like she's lying. It's almost like you can't believe a word she says. And by the way, here she was on Morning Joe talking about Joe Biden in the middle of the campaign.
Do you think the questions about his age are legitimate?
Well, the question's legitimate, but the conclusion that people draw is, I think, off base. Look, I am supporting President Biden and Vice President Harris because of what they've gotten accomplished. I'm kind of old-fashioned that way. I like to see people, as I said, tackle big problems, bring people together, and try to forge solutions.
By the way, the day after the debate Joe Biden had with Donald Trump, when you can forgive any Democrat for being disloyal and saying, hey, maybe we should rethink this whole thing. I mean, after all, George Clooney showed more courage than any other Democrat elected official, including this lady, by saying, yeah, Joe's got to get out. I love that they had George Clooney do all the heavy lifting for them. The day after that debate, Hillary Clinton said, Joe's got my vote. Woohoo! Hell of a job. See, you can't believe a freaking word this woman says, but you knew that already. Let's go back to some of the other revelations of this appearance at the 92nd Street Y in New York.
Over a long period of time, you've debated him 3 times. You've observed him very carefully, obviously. Is he disintegrating?
You've debated him 3 times. You've observed him very carefully. Let's face it, you're freaking obsessed. He lives rent-free in your head. You think about him the moment you wake up in the morning and the moment your head hits the pillow and every time in between. Can we just... Oh, that's the question I would have asked. I guess that's why I don't get to interview Hillary Clinton at the 92nd Street Y. Okay, the question is Trump disintegrating? Gee, I wonder what her answer is going to be.
He just turned 80.
I think he is certainly not what he was. He doesn't come across, at least in the way that he presents himself, with as much energy. Falls asleep in lots of public meetings. I mean, poor Joe Biden. I mean, shut his eyes, once or twice. But Donald Trump is like falling asleep all the time these days. But part of that is he stays up all night posting on Truth Social. So he's not getting enough sleep anyway, which is pretty disturbing because I don't think people who are sleep deprived make good decisions on top of everything else. But I really think he has a number of traits that have gotten, more obvious. He doesn't even try to hide them. His impulsivity, his immaturity, his lack of curiosity about anything going on.
Wow, these are all really biting criticisms. She probably should have said this about him when she ran against him as president. She should have said things like that, or called all of his supporters deplorables and called him a sexist, racist, xenophobe, and said, "Oh wait, he did it. It makes no difference." It's sad, but there she is. She thinks that at 80 years old, Trump has lost an edge. He's not capable of being president anymore. And then she went on this old canard. He will refuse to relinquish power. They're trying that one again.
Well, David, You and I think alike. I think, number one, if he could figure out a way to stay, he would. My husband likes to say, if he tries to stay, I'm running again. But if that's unlikely, which we have to hope it is, I don't get the feeling he's all warm and fuzzy about J.D. Vance.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so a couple of things here. First of all, we have to examine this laugh for a second. I know, trigger warning again, but this is not the Hillary laugh we're used to. There's something different about this Hillary laugh.
My husband likes to say, if he tries to stay, I'm running again.
That's just terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Here's what I find really fascinating about this. She's younger than Bill. Why wouldn't she run again? Why is it my husband? I love the fact that she always calls him my husband, by the way. Who does that? Ladies, do you refer to your husband in the third person like that? Is that because we all know his name, right? I guess it's one thing if you're talking to people who have no idea who your husband is, but you still use their name, don't you? It's like, I was telling Bill, my husband, the other day, she constantly does this. I think it's because she kind of hates him, understandably. But it is fascinating to me. It's like, well, if Trump figures out a way to run again, my husband is going to run again. But please bring that on. I'd love to have that conversation. But what about her? Why wouldn't she run again? She's spry. She's ready. She's ready to shatter that glass ceiling. And then I love the fact that they're all trying to drive a wedge between J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. Why do you think that is? Yeah, that's worth examining. Oh, and I mentioned the deplorables comment. So she's asked about that. And this is a great opportunity for somebody to say, yesterday we saw J.D. Vance actually say, yeah, that whole thing about childless cat ladies who make policies for our children in the public schools because they run school boards and they run the teachers union. Not a great moment for me. I probably shouldn't have made that comment, even though it's objectively true. But he actually showed some humility, some grace, and said, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said. This is a great opportunity for Hillary Clinton to say, yeah, I probably shouldn't have called, half of America deplorable. Yeah, okay, Hillary, here's your opportunity.
How has your understanding of his support evolved? You were criticized a lot, probably rightly, for using the word deplorables for many of his followers. But how do you view the evolution of his followers and what it is that they want most of all from him?
Well, first of all, I said only about half were. So, to be fair.
Well, are you doubling down on deplorables?
But I have to say, I gave a speech, for example, about something called the alt-right, which, the press had no idea what I was talking about. Certainly the public had no idea what I was talking about. But, I was beginning to see this really disturbing rhetoric, racist rhetoric, sexist rhetoric, the kind of authoritarian, demagogic claims about our politics. And it worried me. So, I tried to kind of put that into the political debate, but I also did try to, draw a line between those who were following him because of that. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a bug, it was the feature. They wanted to follow someone who was, demeaning President Obama, was, making claims about me, saying things like, the Second Amendment, people will take care of her. I mean, terrible things that were.
What the hell is she talking about? Okay, fine. There you go. She refuses to pump the brakes on deplorables. You're damn right I called him deplorable. I should have done it more. Should have been in my opening campaign speech. Should have done it every time I had an opportunity. All right, that's fine. Just understand something. When Hillary Clinton talks about the basket of deplorables, which she jokingly announced, I only meant half of his supporters. Oh, that's only 25% of the American people that you wanted to lead as president. Great. That makes us feel better. Understand something. She's talking about you. She's talking about individual American citizens. Not politicians, not elected officials, not public figures, not Donald Trump. She's talking about you, just the regular Joe trying to eke out a living, keep as much of your paycheck as possible, raise your children, worship your God, and get the government out of your life. And she calls you a deplorable for that because you don't vote the way she wants you to vote. And you're just a regular Joe. And that she will reserve this kind of well thought out and carefully crafted language to attack you, the voter. But it's funny. This whole idea of, being anti-woman and violent rhetoric and violent threats in the past and all this Second Amendment will take care of all that stuff. It's funny. There's one person on the political stage right now that embodies all of those things that you could legitimately call deplorable. And it's not just some random Joe voter out there like you. It's a guy who just got the Democrats' nomination for Senate in Maine, Graham Plattner. So, Hillary, would you call him deplorable?
I feel about him the way I feel about any candidate. I want to see what kind of candidate he actually turns out to be. The bumps on the road that he has experienced and some of the things he has said.
Bumps on the road?
Yeah, I mean, clearly bumps on the road in terms of some of his prior behavior, some of his prior statements. And I will tell you, I served with Susan Collins. She is going to be very hard to beat. And it's going to be a tough election. So I'm reserving.
But if you were a Mainer, where would you pull the lever?
But I'm not a Mainer. I'm a New Yorker. No, but seriously, I mean,
you're going to let that pitch go by?
But David, look, I think we can get actually to what we need in the majority in the House, which will give us a check on him.
All right. So, listen, some people took that last line saying, yeah, he's probably going to lose. So doesn't matter. But she refused to take that opportunity to call him deplorable. No, he's just had some bumps on the road. The things that he said, the things that he's done, these are bumps in the road, people. But you're deplorable. Graham Plattner literally has a Nazi symbol tattooed on his flesh over his heart, and he's had it for 20 years and has lied about it. And that's a bump in the road. You posted a meme in favor of Donald Trump on your Facebook, and you are deplorable. She quite possibly could be the worst person in the world. I'm so glad she's back.